Hello, good morning. Welcome to JoyNews Desk. We're coming to you live from our studios in Kukumlimi. Coming up this morning, renal dialysis units of the Kolebu Teaching Hospital under pressure and at risk of another shutdown as doctors are unable to raise funds for consumables, which they say is taking a toll on service delivery.
He or she may die. I understand all that, and even if you and I are in the same position, we'll also be concerned. So it's a genuine concern. But the other truth of the matter is that if we don't pay realistic prices, the unit collapses and nobody gets treatment.
We'll tell you more of this, but also release the salaries of our teachers by Friday or face our wrath. That's the threat coming from the National Association of Graduate Teachers, NAGRAT, who allegedly, who says the OSP has withheld the salaries of more than 400 teachers to investigate ghost names on government's payroll.
He's telling us that he has the workers not to work or direct workers not to be paid their salaries. On what basis? What if the basis of the OSP is flawed?
As Parliament gears up to vet President Kufuors' ministerial nominees, former Chief of Staff has raised concerns about the timing of President Kufuors' ministerial reshuffling with barely 10 months to a general election.
This is the right time to have this reshuffle. That's my only concern. Otherwise, it's the president's prerogative. He decides what he wants to do with his government.
More as the leadership of the NPP dismisses such suggestions, saying that new appointees should be measured by their output in office. And also in this bulletin, we'll take a look back at the tenure of former Finance Minister Ken Ofori-Atta, who got a sack yesterday, a 7-year tenure of e-levy, IMF and Kinky parties.
If he's exactly the right man to lead our country's economic revival, with the support and under the chairmanship of the Vice President and the Economic Management Committee.
My name is Aisha Ibrahim. Do stay for details. Sister unions are asking government to release January salaries of over 400 of their members by the special prosecutor. The unions are accusing the office of the special prosecutor of freezing their members' salaries without prior notice or reason. They have since given Friday, February 16 to announce their next line of action if the issue is not resolved.
President of the National Association of Graduate Teachers, NAGRAT, Angel Kabunu, questioned the authority of the special prosecutor to freeze the salaries. He said the affected members were initially more than 1,300. The salaries of about 900 members were released after the leadership engaged government over the issue.
It is the view of the unions that questioning where the OSP got his authority from. And even if he does have that authority, whether it is not prudent to have informed the managers of these teachers, the employers of these teachers, that is Ghana Education Service, before directing that their salaries should be suspended. Is the OSP telling us that he has the power to direct workers not to work or direct workers not to be paid their salaries? On what basis? What if the basis of the OSP is flawed?
President of the Coalition of Concerned Teachers Ghana, King Ali Awudu, re-echoed the sentiments of NAGRAT and asked the special prosecutor to provide reasons for taking such a decision.
The teachers were validated by their heads of institutions that are supposed to validate them, meaning that they are at post. Controller and Accountant General pays the people. Controller transfers the money to the person's bank. And then a special prosecutor goes to instruct the bank that though the person has been paid and the money has come, block the person's account. Don't allow the person to access the account. In this country, it is only the courts that have the power to garnish somebody's account. And even that, the person whose account is being garnished is made to know. This kind of arbitrary power is what we are not ready for.
Our sources at the Office of the Special Prosecutor says the salaries have been frozen due to an auditing of goods named on government's payroll.
A former chief of staff under the Akufo-Addo administration, JoyNews, has raised concerns about the timing of President Akufo-Addo's ministerial reshuffling. With barely 10 months for general election, the president has removed the finance minister, Akufo-Addo, and replaced him with the Minister of State at Finance Ministry, Dr. Mohammed Amin Adams. Approximately 13 current ministers of state, including 10 cabinet ministers and 2 regional ministers, have been affected by the reshuffle. Following the reorganization of the government, President Kufuors has submitted to Parliament for prior approval the names of some individuals for appointment as ministers and deputy ministers of state by the Constitution. Speaking on PM Express, Mr. Pienim expressed reservations, noting that while the president has the prerogative to make such changes, the proximity to the upcoming elections raises questions about the effectiveness and impact of the reshuffle.
Reshuffles are the prerogative of the president. He works with the ministers and the deputy ministers, and he should be able to determine who is working well and who is not working well. My only concern is it the right time to have this reshuffle? That's my only concern. Otherwise, it is the president's prerogative. He decides what he wants to do with his government. If he believes the changes will help him to achieve his aims, fine. You should go ahead and do that. But I am thinking 8 months, if we bring 8 months to an election without have any effect on the direction of government, I don't know. Maybe the president knows, or maybe those within his circle know. Those within his circle know this. But to be honest, I think the timing is the problem. Otherwise, it is prerogative to do a reshuffle as he thinks fit. You have 8 months to an election. Some of these are new, completely new. Maybe you get them in place by the end of the month or the middle of next month. How are they going to be able to learn, know what is within the ministry, to enable them maybe direct the ministry in a way maybe the president wants them to do now? That's the timing I'm talking about. When it says to a general election, what do you want to achieve? I don't know. This is the timing I'm talking about. I think it's too close to the election, and I don't believe there will be. I don't believe there can be any massive change in the direction of the government at this stage.
Leadership of the new Patriotic party is, however, rejecting assertions the reshuffle of the ministers came in a little too late. 19 current ministers and deputies, including 10 cabinet ministers and 2 regional ministers, were affected. The NPP says government critics should assess the new appointees based on their output in office and not the time left for them to serve. Listen to National Organiser of the NPP, Henry Nanabuache.
Respectfully, I would want to submit that under 15 reshuffles, in fact, this is, for me, the most detailed and massive reshuffle we've seen under His Excellency Nana Addo. And again, the respected and revered former President Kufuors, 6 months to election, we saw some reshuffle. And again, my very own uncle, former Chief of Staff, was then the Chief of Staff. 6 months to elections, and we have a whole 11 months to elections. So I think that, first of all, let me commend His Excellency the President. The changes of me were needed, and it is good. It's happened this particular time. You recall that when we were having our annual Thanksgiving service, the General Secretary spoke the mind of the party. He articulated the views appealing to His Excellency the President to make some changes. And I'm happy with the changes. I mean, Fatima to Abubakar is worked so well. Her elevation is very, very welcoming, very refreshing. You have my big sister, Nabu Ophelia, in studios, and she's also worked very hard, and he deserves to be there. There are some young faces, new energy, new ideas. Vincent of Pankono, very sharp guy. My own brother, Akufo-Addo, very sharp guy. Satumakon, very intelligent brain. And so it's a mix, it's a blend of the experienced new persons. And I think that it is good. It's going to give the administration some new energy and a new force. So I don't have any issue with it at all. And the party welcomes this particular news. We are happy with these changes, and we commend His Excellency the President for such massive and broad reshuffle.
So Parliament now, where the minority in Parliament says it is not impressed with the latest changes made to the government by President Akufo-Addo, Ken Ofori-Atta, Dr. Kweku-Efrie, Kweku-Agyeman-Manu, and Kwesi Amoah-Akwata have all been sacked from the government. But the NDC MPs say the new faces can't change the fortunes of this government, which they say is sinking. Parliamentary Affairs correspondent Kweku Asante has more.
One of the major talking points today in Parliament has been these changes made by President Kufuors to his government. So many ministers have been relieved of their duty, and Ken Ofori-Atta has been the biggest casualty. Remember, he was one minister that drew the anger of his own party MPs here in Parliament who have been calling for his removal. So many years down the line, he has finally lost his job. Listen to Speaker of Parliament Alban Bagbin read that letter from the President announcing these changes to the government.
Following the reorganization of the government, I am writing to seek parliamentary approval for the following appointments into the executive in accordance with Articles 78, 79, and 256 of the Constitution. Environment, Science, Technology, and Innovation, Honorable Ophelia Mensah-Hayford, MP. Ministry, Information, Miss Fatimatu Abubakar. The nominations are accordingly referred to the Appointments Committee for consideration and report.
The minority MPs have been wading into these appointments. So many of them say these changes have come in too late, and that they believe these are just election-winning gimmicks to ensure that so many persons now have a strong hands to be able to get enough resources to campaign for the 2024 elections.
What the president has done is a waste of our time. He has just wasted our time, and he has wasted the finances of this country. We said you could do with a lesser ministerial portfolio, ministerial positions. He refused. His vice president is saying that when he becomes a president, he will reduce it. They should reduce it now. If it is feasible, if it's possible to have a lean government, this is the time we want to see it. So they should stop wasting our time.
But I'm getting the information that the Minister for Finance will be appointed as a senior, advisor for the economy, senior economic advisor who will be seated at the presidency. So what it simply means is that Honorable Adam Mohamed means Ante's hands are going to be tied because he'll be reporting to the senior advisor. If it is true, then this is just a charade of an appointment.
And I think the people around the president continue to embarrass him. But whatever it is, I don't think that this new team will perform any magic. I don't think so.
The horses have already voted, and it's clearly, if you look at the reshuffle they have done, it's not about the good people of this country. It's about elections. If you could see through it carefully, you realize that those who have lost elections will get away, to give way to those who have won primaries to go and contest the elections, just to enhance their chances in their constituencies. It's not really about the people of this country. How many months left to go? It's about 9 months. What are they going to do? Absolutely nothing. If indeed he wanted to sack Ajimamanu, you should have done it during Sputnik investigation. He went to Ajimamanu's region and he was making mockery of the committee. So it's not about the good of the country. It's clearly about electoral fortunes.
The appointment committee is expected to consider this appointment as soon as practicable. Remember, the appointment committee has now been reconstituted by the new standing orders. It will be chaired by Joe Osei-Wusu. He's still the chairman, the first deputy speaker. The members will be drawn from the leadership of both sides of the aisle. And then, depending on the subject matter that is before the committee, they will draw members from other standing committees of the House. So if they have to vet Okoboy for the health ministry, for instance, they will draw members from the health committee of the House to come and join the leadership of Parliament, who will now form the core of the appointment committee of the House. Reporting for JoyNews, Kweku Asante, Parliament House, Accra.
Well, the NDC views the reshuffling as a squandered opportunity by the ruling government to heed the pleas of Ghanaians and reduce the number of ministers. Fifi Avekwete, the General Secretary of the NDC, believes the decision was not made in the interest of Ghanaians, but rather to secure more votes, particularly for the new appointees in the upcoming December elections.
And we must say that we are once again highly disappointed in this government. Even though disappointment in this government has become the norm, we were at least expecting some level of change amidst Dr. Bawumia's promise to govern Ghana with only 50 ministers. But what do we see? A continuation of the status quo that has plagued our nation's progress. In an era where the clamor for governance and fiscal prudence has never been louder, the recent reshuffle by President Akufo-Addo starkly reflects a government in disarray, obstinately disconnected from the realities of his people. Despite the vociferous appeals from Ghanaians, civil society, the clergy, academics, and think tanks to trim the bloated size of government, a glaring drain on our nation's scarce resources, this administration has once again turned a deaf ear. And remember, the Vice President of this Republic continues to be Dr. Bawumia. And clearly he is aware of what is going on. If 50 is worth doing, then 50 should as well be done now to let the people of Ghana know you mean it. But clearly, it does not mean it. Now, the insistence on maintaining a government apparatus comprising so many ministers is not only a slap in the face of the Ghanaian taxpayer, but it's testament to an entrenched culture of profligacy, cronyism, and a disturbing myopic view of governance. This unwieldy government size, under the guise of facilitating development, has instead catalyzed an era marked by inefficiency and unfulfilled promises.
Fifi Kwete has, however, issued a challenge to the flag bearer of the NPP, Dr. Bawumia, urging him to fulfill his promise to reduce the size of government now, and he pledged days ago.
Enter Dr. Bawumia, the Vice President, and the freshly minted flag bearer of the NPP, who now promises a government of only 50 ministers. This pledge starkly contrasts the current administration's excesses and reads hollow in the face of his government bloat. Dr. Bawumia's sudden pivots is the economic turmoil our nation endures. It's emblematic of a desperate ploy of votes, a deception that the Ghanaian people can see through with clarity. Today's reshuffle by President Akufo-Addo, rather than offering a beacon of hope for a leaner, more efficient government, has instead upheld the status quo. It is a profound disappointment and a missed opportunity to hear the people's call for change. This action, or rather inaction, underscores a blatant disregard for the nation's plea for governance that puts the people's welfare above political expediency. It is particularly disheartening to witness the recycling of ministers who over the past 7 years have demonstrated a stark inability to propel our nation forward. This reshuffle, far from being a strategic realignment, is merely a superficial rearrangement of pieces on a board, with no real intent to address the systemic failures that plague our governance. Dr. Bawumia's slogan, "It is possible," now begs the question: if indeed it is possible, why not now? If indeed it is possible, why the waits, if not for political convenience at the expense of the national well-being of Ghana? This reshuffle could have been a moment of bold leadership, a signal of a genuine commitment to reform. Yet, it stands as a testament to a government marking time, lacking the vision or the will to implement the drastic changes Ghana so urgently requires.
Akufo-Addo was a polarizing figure in Ghana's politics. The former finance minister divided opinions in his own party, with a 7-year tenure rocked with a considerable amount of controversies. The former banker and co-founder of Data Bank was at the helm of affairs in the finance ministry for nearly a decade, the longest of any other finance minister. Having been sacked, my colleague Kweku Asante takes a look back at some key moments in his tenure.
I believe he's exactly the right man to lead our country's economic revival with the support and under the chairmanship of the Vice President and the Economic Management Committee. I recommend him very strongly to the Parliament for approval as the next Finance Minister of Ghana. That is Mr. Ken Akufo-Addo.
The soft-spoken Bible quoter and all-white wearing Ken Akufo-Addo assumed the reins as finance minister in 2017. Just months into his tenure, he was rocked with conflict of interest allegations and the issuance by Stretch. Ken Akufo-Addo had a rocky but relatively stable first term. Much of his troubles began when he was reappointed in 2021. Ken Akufo-Addo fell ill. His situation was so worse that 2021 budget was read by Majority Leader Osei Sabonsu.
In designating me as the minister with temporary responsibility for the Ministry of Finance.
The economy takes a nosedive with skyrocketing inflation, high interest rates, and general economic hardship. But Mr. Akufo-Addo stays put, blaming the economic crisis on COVID-19 and the war in Ukraine.
That the current state of our debt has a lot to do with the lingering effects of the COVID-19 pandemic and the Ukraine war.
Despite excruciating economic challenges, Ken Akufo-Addo, with the backing of the president, splashed public funds on lofty plans of constructing a cathedral. After several millions of dollars have been spent, the project is still at the foundation level, sitting in the heart of Accra. When the economic situation does not improve, Ken has to think outside the box. What does he do? He abolishes road tolls and introduces the unpopular and controversial e-levy, which many have said was the beginning of his end. Facing a spirited opposition in Parliament, Ken Akufo-Addo went around the country rallying support for the e-levy, which is sold as the panacea to the country's woes. He declared then that the country was never going to return to the International Monetary Fund.
We are not going to the IMF. Whatever we do, we are not. The consequences are there. We are a proud nation. We have the resources. We have the capacity.
Eventually, after MPs he gets his e-levy, but the economic situation does not improve. Ghana now swallows its pride and applies to the IMF for a bailout. Ken Akufo-Addo remains in office. Now MPs from his own party, close to 100 of them, have had enough and in an unprecedented move, demanded his dismissal.
We are by this medium communicating our strong desire that the President change the Minister of Finance and the Minister of State in the Finance Ministry without further delay.
His cousin, the president, Nana Akufo-Addo, jumps to his defense and keeps him at post. The opposition in parliament then files a motion to censure him.
It's unacceptably high for businesses. The pharmaceutical industry is complaining because it affects their imports and they are made to pay more. The depreciation of the city has affected even Makwala women.
Ken Officer miraculously survives all these attempts to remove him. To raise more revenue, Ken Oforiatta introduces a debt exchange program, a program so unpopular it drove a former Chief Justice to the streets in protest.
It's rude, it's wicked, it's unlawful, it's not right. It lacks good faith, it lacks humanity.
But after 7 years, Ken Oforiatta's cup becomes full. His cousin, the president, succumbs to pressure and sacks him. He's now penciled for a role as special advisor at the presidency. Andy Apiakubi, MP for Asante Achimno, and one of the NPP MPs who demanded his dismissal, tells JoyNews the decision to dismiss Ken Oforiatta is coming a little too late, but still welcoming. Ken Oforiatta has been the longest serving finance minister in the Fourth Republic. He served for 7 years. Many, including the opposition NDC, have said he has overseen Ghana's worst economic performance in a generation, but still divides opinion, even as he exits as Minister for Finance. For JoyNews, Kweku Asante.
Away from the ministerial reshuffle, the renal dialysis unit at the Kolebu Teaching Hospital is once again under pressure as the unit is unable to raise funds to purchase consumables for service delivery. The unit was forced to shut down last year, sparking public outcry as dialysis patients faced an uncertain end to their lives. According to head of the unit, Professor Vincent Boaman, with every dialysis section, the unit loses 380 cedis, which is accumulating as debt to the hospital. Professor Boaman says the situation is now affecting service delivery and may lead to the shutdown of the unit.
So currently, you already know that the government has asked us to be charging 380 and each time you dialyze one person at 380, you lose another 380 because the actual cost is more than twice what the patients are paying now. So we are actually incurring costs which is not being paid for, which is half of what they're currently paying for. Consumables continue dialyzing them, and the service we provide in general in the unit is really going to impact on it because we may not have enough funds to provide the needed service at the standard that is really would give the patients a good outcome in terms of improving their quality of life, in terms of prolonging their treatment in the long time or giving them a chance of surviving for a long time or good treatment satisfaction. Probably may not be able to provide all these things because we are not charging at a rate that will help us buy the consumables needed. Because for instance, what if these units closes within the next 1 or 2 months because we run out of consumables and we are dialyzing at the rate that we can't buy enough? We buy very little dialysis and close down again, so treatments will be interrupted if we don't buy enough consumables. It's more, let me not say political, it's a national thing and people are concerned about their relatives who are sick. I understand that people are concerned that if a relative doesn't get treatment, he or she may die. I understand all that, and even if you and I are in the same position, we'll also be concerned. So it's a genuine concern. But the other truth of the matter is that if we don't pay realistic prices, the unit collapses and nobody gets treatment.
Well, according to Professor Boaman, another worrying trend identified is the number of young people between the ages of 20 and 50 who are suffering from kidney-related diseases. But what is accounting for this? Professor Boaman explains.
Also, the patients who have kidney disease are very young, between the ages of 20 to 50 years. In fact, the mean age from our data registry now is life to kidney disease, really. And the reason why most of these people are having these forms of kidney disease is exactly not clear at the moment, because as much as 1/3 or 30% of them, we have labeled them as chronic kidney disease of unknown cause. So it may be environmental causes, it may be our genes as well. Some genes have been found in the US as increasing the risk of kidney disease among blacks, which is called the ApoL1 kidney disease gene, which increases our risk of getting kidney disease. And it's due to the fact that over the years in the past, we were exposed to the so-called sleeping sickness, trypanosomiasis, for which we developed genes to protect us against that sleeping sickness. But that same gene now is causing kidney disease. It's known to predispose us or increase our risk of getting kidney disease. So that gene, on the background of other environmental factors we are exposing ourselves to, like the herbs that we are taking, the pain pills in the environment, the concoctions we are taking, the galamsey with exposure to the mercury and the arsenic that they are using to process the gold, amongst other things, may be increasing our risk of developing kidney disease, especially among
the renal patients at the Cape Coast Teaching Hospital are also calling on government to, as a matter of necessity, absorb the costs of their treatment to mitigate the hardships they go through on a daily basis.
Okay, I've been on this dialysis for about 5 years. Actually, I don't know exactly what caused it, but the doctors told me it was pressure, high blood pressure. Yes, that caused the problem. That is a renal disease. It has been so difficult. Life has been so difficult. The cost involved and all other things, put it together, it's not easy at all. It's not easy. Yes, so we are pleading on the government to do something about it. We heard some time ago that the government wants to infuse it with the health insurance. Yes, we are waiting on the government. It shouldn't be mere rhetorics. It should be implemented so that some of us will be able to live for a long while. Okay. So we are pleading with the government to do something about it, especially the insurance that he said. It is something motivational, because this problem, you need people to always motivate you, because other than that, you will be thinking about it. The thought of it alone can shorten the lifespan. Yeah, so I'm so happy and excited receiving such items from the staff of this unit. I'm so excited. I wish they will continue periodically. They will do something about it.
Thank you.
Most welcome.
Like you.
I think that Ghana should give the people a subsidy, a stipend, or something to offset the cost of dialysis, because it's too much, it's too high. So people can't afford it, and also they need to fix the machines so they're always on par with so more people can get to machines, and it's be easier for people to get treatment.
Banks, telecommunication companies, and the General Legal Council are among some 115 institutions owing rent to the University of Ghana, amounting to some $1.3 million. The amount captured in the Auditor General's report are debt the institutions accrued from using various facilities and rent spaces on the University of Ghana campus as of October 2022. The infractions came up when management of the public universities appeared before the Public Accounts Committee hearing yesterday. There's more in the following report.
6 public universities appeared before the Public Accounts Committee sitting on Wednesday to answer questions on infractions captured in the Auditor General's 2022 report. The infractions include procurement breaches, unearned salaries, tax evasion, among others. It emerged during the hearing that at least 115 institutions, including telecommunication companies, owe the University of Ghana over $1.3 million in rent.
Noting that this was a point of difficulty, I set up a special task force to ensure the retrievals of these monies. And so the Director of Finance, who was a co-chair, will provide the details so far.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. For the receivables, the Ghana CD ones, we have been able to recover 594,028, leaving an outstanding of 691,010 cedis. With the dollar amounts, we've been able to recover 1,033,495, leaving an amount of 1,161,457 for the banks. Most of them have redeemed themselves.
But then there are other very solid institutions in here, like these telcos that are still owing, like Airtel, Tigo. I see them here. I see Taser Company also owing utilities and all that. I see Village Canteen, TBR, and all these. Are they still owing in your books?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. These are tenants, and it's an ongoing transaction that happens on a daily basis. We are using all options. We even still work with them, so you pay up and then you incur debt. This is what is happening, and we are following them and exploring all options. Those that are proving difficult, we have actually handed them over to the council to also explore other avenues. It's been quite difficult, but we are doing all we can to use all options available to us.
After listening to the explanations from the university's management, Chairman of the committee, James Buchabeji, insists the money must be retrieved.
My concern is that the debt should not be growing. It should be what? Declining. If it's declining, it means that we are yielding more result, better result, than if it's growing. Okay? All right. So continue to make the effort to recover the money.
Another infraction was the University of Ghana's inability to retrieve some 5 million cedis investment locked up with 5 financial institutions. They have dragged 3 of the 5 institutions to court over the matter.
They sent us a response essentially indicating that the value of our investment has gone down, and that if you were to do any of the investment, we are going to lose about 50%. But this is a decision that has to be taken by the appropriate structure of the university. So this is a matter that we are going to discuss, and then based on the decision that is taken, we'll engage them further and know exactly what to do. Whether we should go for the haircut or we should insist on our pound of flesh.
The invitation from the committee will now push you to do not bothered. Maybe because you have a lot of cash sitting in your account. 8 million is quite a big amount that can do a lot for the university. So do everything possible to recover the money.
Apparently, the University of Ghana are not the only ones whose funds are locked up. The University of Media, Arts and Communications and the Akenten Apia Menkam University are also chasing UT savings and loans for some 27 million cedis.
Lock up investment with NDK Financial Services, 9.1 million. The recommendation is that management should take steps, including legal action, to recover this amount from the company. Tell the committee if you have taken action against the company, NDK Financial Services.
Thank
Thank you, Chair. IJ management in 2020 through to 2021 continued to engage NDK to be able to recover some monies. Throughout that period, 100,000 was recovered without any further recovery from the institution.
Surprisingly, all the universities have declared various amounts of profit in 2021 and 2022. The committee resumes on Wednesday to continue hearing. James Aveji's report, read to you.
JoyNews apologizes for capturing the three financial institutions as defunct in our prime news last night. Our unreserved apology to the companies and customers. That's how we take a break this morning. When we return, there's business.
Hi, welcome to Business. My name is Darryl Kwao. Valentine's Day may be over, but traders are looking forward to make improved sales throughout the month as people share chocolates, bouquets of flowers, among other souvenirs to loved ones. But are the exchanges of these gifts still in vogue? Emmanuel Pride Kweko reports.
Valentine originated as a Christian feast honoring an early saint named Valentines. It was recognized as a significant cultural, religious and commercial celebration of romance and romantic love in many regions around the world. On this special day, in many parts of the world, chocolate, flowers, teddy bears and champagnes are the common gifts shared. But are the exchanges of these Valentine gifts still in? People have been asking me for gifts on this day.
Only special for
chocolates, toffees, and others on Valentine's Day. It is worth celebrating.
And at Christmas also there. Chocolates, toffee,
Valentine's Day is usually for women. We are more concerned about your family's actions. The seemingly phasing out of Valentine's Day presents is telling all the markets as vendors record low sales. On the bustling streets of Boston, I find Regina. In her hands are packets of chocolates and other confections. Chasing, approaching every vehicle that makes a stop at the traffic jam, she anticipates a purchase from both passengers and drivers. The market has not been encouraging.
Market has been slow. Yesterday, we bought quite a number, but this morning has been encouraging. Prices of chocolate have shot up. The list is not 15 Ghana cedis.
Auntie B, also a vendor, is optimistic of better sales by the close of day.
I'm hoping to get more by 8:30 today.
For a number of people, Valentine's Day is not any special day to rekindle love through such gestures. If you have anything to give, don't wait until Valentine's Day. In whatever means you can show your love, do so in this month of love, because love is in the air. JoyNews, I am Emmanuel Bright Kweku.
Now, the Bank of Ghana has moved to strictly enforce rules and regulations covering trade in foreign currencies among financial institutions to contain recent pressure on the cedi. It is also increasing the amount of dollars supplied to commercial banks. Here's George Affe with more.
According to the Bank of Ghana, this is part of several measures being instituted to check the recent sustained depreciation of the Ghana cedi. The Bank of Ghana was however quick to add that this should not be seen as a panic measure, but rather just tightening the rules. This is because some of these enforcement measures has been in place. That is why the Ghana cedi has been relatively stable since the last half of 2023. The Bank of Ghana maintains that this level of depreciation should be seen as expected because of the high level of dollar demand in the first quarter of every year and the sudden payment being made to the power producers in the country to avert a shutdown of supply in the country, and also some payments for imports that came in December last year. However, officials of the central bank have told Joy Business that they expect the situation to firmly stabilize in the coming days. This because the market has started responding to the increasing dollar supply for this week. Meanwhile, the Bank of Ghana today sells some $20 million to the bulk oil distribution companies to help finance the importation of finished petroleum products. This should also go a long way to deal with the current pressure on the Ghana cedi.
And that's it for this segment. The news continues after the break.
Agri experts across the country are calling for reforms in Ghana's agri sector to help improve food sufficiency in the country. Speaking at a thought leadership program hosted by the Alumni Association of Swedru Senior High School, agri scientist Professor Roger Canton emphasized the urgent need for Ghanaian farmers to mobilize and demand government's intervention in addressing the critical issues facing the agri industry.
Ghana relies heavily on food imports due to challenges such as the high cost of agricultural equipment, insufficient funding, poor infrastructure, and climate change, among many others farmers face. At a thought leadership program organized by the Alumni Association of Swedru Senior High School to explore means by which the country can attain food sufficiency, panelists took turns identifying key areas of reforms in the agricultural sector. Agricultural scientist Professor Roger Canton urged Ghanaian farmers to take industrial action to advocate reform in the agricultural sector.
I'm talking about Ghanaian farmers. This will help us. What we have are small political-based farmer unions. They are not. You see a small politician hiding behind a farmer to benefit. When they go to the minister, instead of talking of farmer, he wants a tractor, he wants this, he wants fertilizer. That is not helpful. We want genuine farmer so that we come with a strong umbrella. When you talk like the EU farmers are doing, France, Spain, Portugal, all the countries have used bills and tractors to block parliament, block road to prime minister's houses, and it's working. We can also block Jubilee House. We just come with tractors and block from that block here. Nobody can move. They will listen to us.
Associate Professor Kwame Jeffrey Pong from the Department of Soil Science at the University of Cape Coast emphasized the importance of rebranding Ghana's agricultural sector.
We need to rebrand agriculture. Let me tell you an analogy. When we were at Tech then, there was those of us who did BSc agriculture and our contemporaries who did BSc agricultural engineering. So if you went to Africa and you said you did BSc agricultural engineering, you were hailed. But for those of us who did BSc agriculture, we were seen differently. And I believe that still persists today. So as the number of students who are doing ICT is going high up, the number of students doing agriculture is dwindling fast. So we need to rebrand agriculture.
Lecturer at the Department of Agricultural Economics, KNUST, Dr. Enoch Ejekum, emphasized the significance of subsidizing ICT tools for farmers to make access to information easier.
Subsidies or incentives can be given for farmers to adopt ICT tools. Now, a lot of our farmers have started using Android phones, but there are still more who are using the YAM. So could we subsidize smartphone for farmers? I also heard that teachers and nurses have
some specialized data packages for them.
And as I wrap up the bulletin this morning, my name is Aisha Ibrahim. Log on to myjoyonline.com. There's more of the news and updates of all the developing stories. See you again at 12.